So what have I told you? 2025 is the 53rd anniversary of one of the most underrated horror movies of all time. It shares a name with a very interesting TV series adaptation, but this is the original, Tales from the Crypt, the film. This British horror film is directed by Freddie Francis. It is an anthology film consisting of 5 separate segments based on short stories from the EC comic series Tales from the Crypt by L. Feldstein, Johnny Craig, and Bill Gaines as part of the MASH family. The film was produced by Amicus Productions and filmed at Shepperton Studios in Surrey. In the film, 5 strangers, Joan Collins, Ian Hendry, Robin Phillips, Richard Green, and Nigel Patrick, in the crypt encountered a mysterious crypt keeper, played by Ralph Richardson, who makes each person in turn foresee the manner of their death, is one of several Amicus horror anthologies produced during the 70s. Now, produced by Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg, Peter Cushing is in this as well, Patrick McGee, cinematographer great Norman Warwick, the music by Douglas Gamely, distributed by Cinerama, March 8, 72. Only cost £170,000, but made $3 million in the States by itself. Now, this is the plot. While viewing old catacombs in the English countryside, 5 strangers stumble into a room with a mysterious crypt keeper who details how each of them will die. The first segment is called An All Through the House, taken Volta Horror 35. In this one, the beautiful and glamorous Joanne Clayton kills her much older husband Richard on Christmas Eve to collect his insurance. She prepares to hide his body, but is interrupted by a radio announcement of a homicidal maniac lurking in the night. Again, Reflection of Death is part 2, taken from Tales of the Crypt 23. Carl Maitland abandons his wife and children to be with his secretary Susan. After they drive off together, they're involved in a car accident. He wakes up having been thrown clear of the wreckage and burned car and attempts to hitchhike home, but everyone he meets reacts with horror upon seeing him. Now, the third segment is called Poetic Justice, taken from Haunt of Fear 12. In this one, James Elliott lives with his father Edward across from the home of elderly dustman Arthur Edward Grimsdyke, who owns a number of dogs and entertains children in his house with stories and toys. While both the Elliots are snobs who resent Grimsdyke as a blight in their neighborhood, James strongly detests the old man enough to conduct a smear campaign against him, and doesn't go well for him. Wish You Were Here from Haunt of Fear 22, a variation on W.W. Jacobs' short story The Monkey's Paw. Ineffective, ruthless business of Ralph Jason is close to financial ruin. He's why Enid notices the first time the inscription on a Chinese figurine in the couple's collection, which grants 3 wishes to the owner. Now, in Blind Alleys, taken from Tales of the Crypt 46, Major William Rogers becomes a new director of a home for the blind. Exploits his position to live in luxury with his German Shepherd Shane, while his drastic financial cuts to food and heating reduce the residents' quality of life. Rogers gets his comeuppance after he ignores the pleas of resident George Carter to both make the living condition more bearable and later get medical treatment for fellow resident Greenwood, who then dies from hypothermia. Now, after completing the final tale, the Crypt Keeper reveals that he was not worrying them about what would happen, but instead telling them what has already happened, that they all have died without repentance. There's one clueless twist, is that Joanne is wearing the brooch her husband had given her for Christmas just before she killed him. The door to hell opens and Joanne, Carl, James, Ralph, and Major Rogers all enter. Ralph enters first and is seen falling down to a fiery abyss. And now, who's next? Asks the Crypt Keeper, turning to face the camera as he says, "Perhaps you?" The scene pulls away as the entrance to the Crypt Keeper's lair is in flames. Now, the wraparounds, of course, Ralph Richardson as the Crypt Keeper, and Jeffrey Bailden as the guide. And again, Joan Collins is the lead in All Through the House. Ian Hendry is the lead in Reflection of Death. Peter Cushing in Poetic Justice. Richard Green in Wish You Were Here. And Nigel Patrick in Blind Alleys. Now, according to Milton Subotsky of Amicus Productions, he had been a long-been fan of EC Comics' Tales from the Crypt, eventually persuaded his partner Mac Rosenberg to buy the rights, and the budget of $170,000 was higher than usual for Amicus production, and was partly funded by AIP. Peter Cushing, who was originally offered a part of Ralph Jason, but wanted to try something different, and played the elderly Arthur Edward Grimsdyke. Filming started in September 71 and finished some 5 months later. Now, the film premiered in North America on March 8th, and 72 in the UK on September 28, 72. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying it's put together something like the comic books with the old Crypt keeper acting as host and narrator. In the movie version, is played with suitable hand by Ralph Richardson. Vincent Canby, New York Times, felt the film lacked style. However, the Radio Times Guide to Films gave it 4 out of 5, saying that ace direction by genre favorite Freddie Francis adeptly leaves the horror with serial comic interludes. Eric Henderson of Slate gave it 2.5 out of 5 and wrote, the undercurrent of sternness is tempered by a truly bottomless roster of campy access. As of October 2020, Rotten Tomatoes reported that 90% of the 21 surveyed critics gave the film a positive review with an average score of 7.07 out of 10. Now, the film was released on VHS in North America by Prism in 85, then by Star Maker Home Video in 89, and finally by 20th Century Fox under the Selection label in 98. In the UK, it was released on VHS in 88 by CBS, having it rated 18 without cuts by the BBFC. Released on DVD in 20th of June 2010, it also was paired with the Vault of Horror, double feature DVD on September 11th. Shout Factory also released the same double DVD. Now, a few parts of the movie were remade the episode for the Tales from the Crypt TV show with some adjustments. So to see not say a young Joan Collins, but a middle-aged Joan Collins eating up the scenery with all these great performers. But like I said, it is what it is. But you got to understand, was this a drive-in movie or a TV movie or an exploitation movie? I rarely saw this on late-night TV in Canada because the BritHorror wasn't really that strong. But when The Omen hit big, it just seems this was the type of movie that was getting a lot of draw. Now, it's kind of weird about this. The EC Comics brand, Seduction of the Innocent and the anti-comic book era, making delinquents, the older people that didn't want people watching reading EC Comics were the target audience for this movie. Now, the special effects are not on the screen. It comes across sometimes as a bad Star Trek or Alfred Hitchcock movie. But again, to see Joan Collins in one of her older haircuts and being the only female of the evil bunch, it's quite interesting. So Tales from the Crypt, the 1972 movie, I haven't seen it in years. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. But my God, ladies and gentlemen, if you saw this at a drive-in, I hope you turned the lights up because it's a very dark movie. Maybe that's why I didn't do much in drive-ins in North America, but it is a hoot and a half. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, where our screenshots and remote control, thanks for dropping into the channel.